Take that? Fuck. Hey, welcome back. Before I start, I'd like to apologize for the poor lighting. Right now it's very dark outside, it's pitch black, and I'm actually using my phone as lighting. I'm not sure if you can tell. My phone is sitting up there on a shelf, just projecting light down on me. I also can't really see that well because the light is directly in my eyes, but we'll try to work with it. So, recently a new Phoenix Wright game came out. Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice. That's a little bit long, but work with me here. I'm not sure if you can tell, but I'm actually a fan of the series. I actually have a Ace Attorney poster in the background. Ooh, that's Apollo Justice right there. So yeah, the new one came out Friday, Thursday? I think Thursday. Came out Thursday, and I got it, and let's just say it is super fun, just like the other ones. For the three people who don't know who Phoenix Wright is, he's this guy. Objection! You may not know him by name, but you know who he is. So, what's Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney all about? Well, it's not necessarily about Phoenix Wright, but it's definitely about being an attorney. If you do not like reading, you will not like this game, because it is basically all reading. The only times you actually don't read is the few times when the characters actually have voice lines, and that is very rare. Also, the music is freaking kick-ass, especially for a law game. As well as the voice clips, the objection, take that, hold it, gotcha. That's enough. There's a few of them. They've added a few. But it's super fun. So, what makes it so fun? It makes you think. And how does it make you think? Well, you're presented with a scenario. The first level you ever do, the first case you ever do, is your friend Larry Butts is being accused of murdering his girlfriend because he was seen exiting her apartment before she died. A statue, not like a full statue, like a little tiny like figurine statue, found on the floor, and her dead. And they have one witness who says that he was there at the crime scene and he killed her. So it's your job to examine that one witness and find every contradiction that contradicts the evidence to make sure to prove that he is lying and that your client is innocent. So sometimes the contradictions can be super simple, like the witness will say, oh, I found her dead at 4 p.m., but the autopsy report will say that she died at 1 p.m. So there's a contradiction there. Sometimes it can be super, like, complicated. It could be like, oh, it wasn't snowing at this time, but I have proof it was snowing because I found this gem thing that was buried under the snow, and 15 minutes ago when you suppose the client dropped it, it wouldn't have been covered. Something complicated like that. It gets even more convoluted, like the ghosts get in. I don't play the game, so you'll understand what I'm saying. The first case of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirits of Justice is not as complicated as, oh, a ghost did it. It's pretty simple, but it's kind of complicated. Because it's not as simple as, oh, the victim died at 4 p.m., the witness says, well, the autopsy says 1 p.m. No, it's a bunch of convoluted things like, oh, where was he standing if he actually murdered him? Oh, why would the victim do this if blah, 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 blah. So it can be a little bit complicated, the first case, but it's simple relatively compared to the other cases. Right now I've only played up to the third case, and I am hooked so far. The music is great, the characters are great, the animation's all fun, it has the same cast of wacky characters. It's not like a serious law case. It is like, there's some weird characters. There's a freaking dude bro who's literally wearing like a long sleeve dress shirt and then like cargo shorts and a fedora. The characters can get pretty weird. There's a lot of weird characters that I'm sure you can find online. I'll try to put some on the screen right now. Yeah, pretty weird. So, what Spirit of Justice is all about, it's about Phoenix is on the phone with his really old friend Maya, who actually traveled to this far-off country to practice being a spirit medium, like a monk, something like that. When he's on the phone with her, she ends up getting mugged and screams and drops her phone, and that was the end of the phone call. So Phoenix immediately freaks out and flies all the way to this weird country. And the thing with this country is it's deeply religious. Like, it's embedded in its government. All the people are super religious. They have like specific times of the day to pray. It's kind of like that. So when he gets there, he meets his like the kid's like 10 years old. They don't say how old he is, but he's a kid. He's his tour guide, and the tour guide gets arrested for murder. So Phoenix immediately finds out there's a trial happening, and he bursts in. No one knows he's a defense attorney because in this place there are no defense attorneys. Like there used to be, but they have this thing called the Defense Copulation Act, which means that if you defend someone like a criminal and they end up getting a guilty sentence, then the defense attorney also gets the guilty sentence. And everyone thinks that defense attorneys are they're scumbags, they're liars, they'll do anything to manipulate the truth and win the case. When all Phoenix wants to do, at least, is to prove innocence, and he just believes everyone deserves a proper defense, so he takes up his tour guide's defense. Now, the problem with this is his tour guide is facing the death penalty, so if Phoenix loses his case, not only does his tour guide get killed, so does he. So there's a lot riding on this case, but he believes everyone deserves a defense. That's when he's met with the epidemic, not really epidemic, the problem, more of the main problem, that there is a priestess who's able to call the souls of the dead back and project their last memories. And the guy's last memory was the tour guide, kind of like shocked with his hands kind of behind his head. You can't really tell if he's holding something, he's holding his hands up, because it's dark. And then the vision ends, just everything goes black, and you can see the senses on the screen. You can tell when he feels pain, what he's hearing, what he's seeing, what he's smelling. So this is pretty damning, right? We have a guy holding something, looks like he's holding something over his head. So Phoenix does what he does best, and he pokes contradictions. He posts all these holes in the insight, the memories. He's like, well, we don't know what's happening here. We don't know what's happening here. This could be happening. The reason why he has his hands up is not because he's holding something over his head, but because the guy is aiming a gun at him. So basically that whole like last memories with the last thing the victim saw gets thrown out the window, and they have to do a normal court case where Phoenix is able to prove that his tour guide is innocent. He's able to prove who the real culprit is through a lot of really like logical steps. And that's the end of the first mission, and that's the first not guilty sentence in that country in 23 years. Because for 23 years there have been no defense attorneys because they all either in jail or quit. Now, while he's in this weird country, his colleagues at Apollo Justice and Athena Sykes are back at his office, and they're taking the normal American cases. They're defending all the people who are accused of murder and whatever. So it's a bit normal, but the prosecutor is from this weird country that Phoenix is in right now. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Kurai, I think? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's called Kurai. He's from that weird country, and he himself is a monk, and it's said that he can predict where the arguments are heading. He can feel the karma of the case and like know if it's going to be guilty or not guilty. He can tell the outcome. The first case he has was Apollo Justice. The Apollo Justice versus the prosecutor. I don't know how to pronounce his name because everyone in that country has extremely long names with like not commas, quotations, not whatever that key is. Like abbreviate. I'm gonna say abbreviations. It's really weird. Like I think the tour guide's name is like Abudai. I don't know. It's hard to pronounce. It's a Japanese game, so they're mostly like, you know, kind of translated to be in Japanese. So what happens is a Phoenix Wright's adopted daughter gets accused of murder. So Apollo Justice does the best he can to defend her, and he does pretty well. But the monk is very aggressive. He threatens Apollo Justice many times with that he's going to hell. The Holy Mother, which is the god of the religion, is going to, like, you know, turn him into a stink bug. So what we see is all the people from this Kurai place are extremely religious, and they believe that, like, if you're being put on trial for being guilty, you're immediately guilty because their Holy Mother wouldn't allow them to be put on stage if they were innocent. But here comes along Phoenix Wright, Apollo Justice, and they're basically shattering that ideology because the people who are being put on trial for being guilty are being proven innocent. So we see a parallel between Phoenix and Apollo because Phoenix is in this weird country where he is basically facing death for every case he does, and Apollo is just facing really just ridicule, humiliation from the prosecutor if he loses. So we see his two court cases. One is handled extremely odd, religiously, and not like how we think it would. It's not orderly, it's all based on religion. Where we have Apollo here who's doing it all like the way we expect it to, but the problem is the prosecutor thinks that they're going to do it in the way that his country does it, and there's a lot of threats and there's a lot of sly underhands. Like I said, I haven't beat the game yet, but so far it is super fun. So if you have the chance, you should definitely check it out. I'm sure you could download the original ones for free. You can use an emulator. I know they have it on the DS, they have it on the iPhone. So if you really have the chance, you should definitely play it. You don't need to play the original games to play the new Spirit of Justice game, because they're not really connected. They have the same characters, but they give the backstory pretty well in each of the games, and they explain how to play them in each. There's tutorials for everything. Overall, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice is definitely a welcome game into the franchise. This is the 6th game in the main series, and it definitely follows the continued structure of how the games work, as well as adding something new in, like the seances, where you're able to see like the visions of the dead people. They keep adding new things, and they keep keeping the old things and taking out the things that didn't work. And they know what they're doing. The music is always kick-ass, it's always upbeat, and it's awesome. So, like I said, you get a chance to play it, you should definitely do that. Thanks for watching.